Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square with T-Square Talks. Hope everybody's having a great morning. It is Tuesday morning, and as usual, I don't really have a great topic, but I ended up finding one. I think this is a good topic to discuss. I think it's a topic on almost everybody's mind. It's amazing how many times I hear people bring up something along these lines of what we're going to talk about today. And in order to really address it and get it started, I almost have to read the comments first. And I'm going to read the comment first. So many aren't ready for what's coming. People like us who had the foresight to prepare will be required to help those that didn't. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, I got to say, this is a good friend of the channel, a good friend of mine. I see the comments all the time from this individual, so I know this comment is not meant to be ugly, but there's a few things that need to be addressed in this comment. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you guys enjoy the video, help me out. Hit that thumbs up button. I love hearing you guys' comments. Let me know what you think. It's important that we all discuss this and kind of think it out. I'd rather think it out, talk it out before it happens. So, okay, so right off the bat, I got to say, yeah, a lot of us in the community, we had the foresight to see what is coming down the line. A lot of people are in denial, thinking that everything is going to be okay and nothing bad can ever happen here in the United States. However, what I do plan on talking about in a future video, but I didn't want to address it in today's video because another person that I do watch a lot of his videos addressed it, even though it is a hot topic right now with tariffs. And a lot of people think that, you know, now that some threats have been made to other countries, they're moving away. The BRICS is no longer going to de-dollarize, or so they say. And they're not going to come out and tell you their plan. If I told you, if you do this, you're going to be in trouble, then you're probably not going to do it, or at least you're not going to say you're going to do it. You might do it and then worry, well, maybe I'll get caught, maybe I won't, but you're not going to come out and say you're going to do it publicly. And that's what I think a lot of these countries are fixing to start doing. They're going to start doing secret moves to de-dollarize. And I think that's going to lead to a really hard time here in the U.S. And anybody that thinks, oh, well, we don't need their products, really doesn't understand the product chain and how stuff is made around the world and is shipped here for our paper dollars. If you remember during Cough Cough, not at the beginning of Cough Cough, but towards the later part of Cough Cough, and some of you know what I'm talking about. I'm not really supposed to be talking about that, or even, I don't even want to say that word. But during the end of Cough Cough, we had massive shortages. And a lot of it was people was buying, but a lot of it was stuff wasn't getting here to the United States. Almost everything we buy is imported. The majority of our stuff. The podcast that I was listening to earlier, 80% of our medicine, 95% of our shoes, 95% of our toys, power tools, almost 100% of our electronics. I mean, it's insane how much stuff is imported here in the United States. Now, it doesn't mean we'll go without. We'll just be using secondhand stuff. Or we're going to have to get it through another country that's not essentially on our list of people that we're no longer going to trade with. You know, it's a privilege. I've always said that. It's a privilege to have the world reserve currency. But when that comes to an end, it's going to be ugly. And those of us that had the foresight to prepare are going to be okay. We're going to have silver, which will continue to go up in value because no one will want the dollars. Now, when I read this comment, I got to break this down in a few ways. People like us who had the foresight to prepare will be required to help those. Now, I got to say, required is such a harsh word. Ever since I was a kid, and I started writing a comment to this individual, and I was writing it, and then I realized, man, this is getting too long. So I stopped and said, you know, I'm going to wrap it up here in that comment, and I'm going to do a video on it. You know, ever since I was a kid, I'll be honest, my mom has always told me, you have always gone against the grain. It doesn't matter, and no one can tell me what to do. I hate to say that. It doesn't matter. I don't like being controlled. I don't like being told what to do. I like making my own choices. And in doing that, I understand I could make mistakes by maybe not learning from someone else's mistake, but I made them on my own. Now, does that mean that I don't listen to people? Of course not. I mean, I listen to people because I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes, what they've done wrong, break it down, look at the analysis on it, and not make the same mistakes. And when you see people get burned in, I'm going to say, debt, life, everything, you try not to make those mistakes. Specifically, since I talk a lot about money, I do look at people's financial situations quite a bit. A lot of people live like there's no tomorrow. I've even had some of my close friends tell me, what happens if you passed away tomorrow? What's going to happen to your savings? Here you are saving for a rainy day, but you could pass away tomorrow. And then they want to go and tell me how they had a friend pass away recently, or they know someone that passed away fairly young. Okay. For every one person you know that passed away under, we'll say 50, I can probably name 100 that haven't. Why? Because the average life expectancy here in the United States is probably 70-ish, 69. Both my parents passed away at 69 each. Most of the people I know have lived a good life. Now, I understand there are some exceptions to that rule. Some people won't live that long. And if that's the case, that's tough. But if you're really being honest with yourself, you have to weigh out how long will you be around. And we've talked about this recently in the will video that I did a couple days ago about planning for that end day. So I'm not going to get too much into that at all today. But you have to understand that a lot of people just aren't prepared for what's coming. And that's why a lot of us in the community, we prepare. We prepare for ourselves and we prepare for our loved ones. Now, required to help, I believe, from my personal opinion, somebody taught you about precious metals. Someone has maybe guided you. Someone guided me into precious metals. Once I learned enough, I started learning for myself. And soon, the student became the master. I hate to say it like that, but that individual that taught me eventually was getting out of precious metals and moved into Forex trading, which is currency trading. And he believes that, the dollar might collapse, but it's not going to be the end of every currency around the world. Now, if you followed the channel for any length of time, you understand that, yes, currencies go up and down. Maybe today the Russian ruble's going up. Maybe today the Chinese yuan's going up. Maybe today the dollar's going down. These people that are in the Forex, they try to hop out of one currency and into another and kind of ride that wave up and then cycle down. Now, right now, the dollar is riding a wave up against other currencies. It's important to mention that because when I say riding a wave up, it doesn't mean it's getting stronger. It is getting stronger against other paper currencies that they choose, and that's what the DXY index is. Now, when you're a Forex trader, you can trade against any currencies. It has to do kind of with the DXY, but it also has to do with a lot of different currencies that you can opt in or opt out of. Just like some of us decide which precious metals we want to stack, whether it be gold, silver, platinum, palladium, copper, anything. There are people out there that do nothing but trade currencies, fiat currencies. And they're hoping that they can make a profit, but their profit is in paper. And while they're doing that, trying to make a profit, real world items are going up in price. So, they're not losing as fast as the people that are just holding one currency. And well, at least if they're good at what they're doing. If they're bad at what they're doing, then they're losing just as fast. But what's happening, though, is the goods and services around the world are going up in price. Now, I will say, I did say goods and services, but at a certain point in time, I expect that services will plunge. And why do I think that? Because when the economy really gets tight and things get hard, services go down. People will work for whatever. Whereas people here in the United States, we've become, I don't want to say spoiled, but we are a little spoiled compared to other countries. And we're willing to work, but we're only going to work for the right amount of money. And many times throughout your day or your week, you will hear individuals say, man, I don't get paid enough to do this. Oh, I don't like this job that much. Man, I'm just here for a paycheck. And I hear it all the time. But you have to understand that that attitude is because they don't really, really need it. Because we are on a debt-based system. A lot of people just borrow, they get what they want now, and that's it. In other countries, it doesn't matter what you ask them to do. They will do it because they know that their family's survival, it makes a difference between their family eating or their family not eating. So they're going to do it, and they're going to do it for cheaper than the guy next to them. And I'll be honest, that's one of the reasons why I want to go to the Philippines. Because if you just factor out services as cheaper, which everything is cheaper, but services are exceptionally cheaper. It means that I could hire someone for pennies on the dollar just to prepare my meals. I don't have to eat out. I can have someone, though, that's all they're doing is cooking. Now, I got to say, some people might be like, yeah, but their food's different over there. Let me tell you this. You go to the right country, they can pull up, just like we here in the U.S., can pull up a YouTube video on how to make Filipino pancit or lumpia or beef lo mein or whatever it is you want. Thai, seafood dishes, it doesn't matter. They do the same thing over there. If they have access to the internet, they can pull up a video and learn how to cook it. And as they watch them videos, they're going to learn how to cook whatever you want them to cook. You know, so goods and services. Now, getting into the goods aspect, yes, goods in a country is going to vary on price. If the goods are imported, I can tell you, you go to the Philippines, electronics are expensive. Why are they expensive? Because they're not made there. They're imported. Nobody wants Filipino pesos in their strategic reserves, currency reserves. Everybody wants US dollars right now in their currency reserves. They all hold them. So by them holding them, they have to send us goods, which means we get these awesome, cool foreign goods, whether that be electronics, clothing, sneakers, whatever the case may be. In the Philippines, it ain't the same. So in order to get those cool items, they got to pay dearly. And that's one of the major factors. So once you realize that, getting back to the whole idea of you owe it to people. First of all, people have to understand. I believe you owe it to people to help. Somebody got you into it. You should be getting some other people into it. You should help your friends. Now, there's different ways to handle that. Some people, it's just, you start telling your loved ones. You get them silver for Christmas. You buy them an ounce of silver, or you do something like that. Or you trade them. Had someone that wanted, I think it was a wood split. Yeah, it was a wood splitter the other day. I read the comment. He said, I was looking at buying a wood splitter. It was roughly $700. I asked the guy if he'd take 5. He said no. He said 6. I then told him, how about I give you 5 in cash and a couple of silver dollars? And the guy accepted. So, you look at the way that did. What did that do in that situation? So the guy didn't get it for 5. He got it for roughly $5.70 maybe. But he also got someone into stacking. He got a wood splitter. He said that his plan was to start splitting wood and put that money into silver. He essentially helped educate a future stacker. And I think educating people is more important than handouts. Because when you can get people into it now, I have gotten probably 20 to 30 people in my local area involved in precious metals. These are people that will be very well off now when stuff starts collapsing. Having them in your circle is going to be beneficial to you, as it will be beneficial to me. Because these are people that are going to thrive when everything else is collapsing around you. These are going to be people that are going to be grateful that you helped them out, you put them on the right path, and just like the wood splitter case, you got a better deal out of it. Now, required to help, though, I'm not a fan of the word required, and I hope that didn't imply that you will be mandated or forced. Because the truth of the matter is, people that stack precious metals stack it because they don't want to be a part of this system anymore. They are tired, sick and tired of the system. The system that requires us to essentially pay taxes and see our tax dollars go to things that, quite frankly, we don't support. I had this debate recently with someone. We were discussing the Bible. And for those of you that don't know, I am religious. I don't get too much into religion because I don't want someone thinking, oh, I'm stacking gold and silver when I should be stacking rewards in heaven. And that is true. However, I also believe the home of the wise has oils and spices, and the word money is mentioned in the Bible an awful lot because I believe we're supposed to be responsible with our money. We're not supposed to be charging everything. I mean, it says point blank, the debtor is the slave to the lender, and I'm not going to be someone else's slave. So you have to understand, though, that you have to prepare for what's coming. Helping other people prepare is a good thing. But required to help, am I going to turn someone away when I've got a storage unit with 300 and something pounds of rice? No, I'm not going to turn someone away for rice. Are they going to be eating steak and lobster? No. I mean, I might have a half a cow or a whole cow in my freezer. I'm not going to be giving away steaks. But when that day comes, I'll probably be comfortably eating steaks and rice and instant potatoes and whatever else. And if I help people, and I will help people, it will be rice, beans, ramen noodle, stuff that they will need to survive. And I will also be using a lot of stuff as trade. And at that point, trying to convince people to start producing something. Now, I've actually talked to a few people that are now producing stuff. Because at a certain point, it's not just about gold and silver. It's about being more self-reliant. Being able to survive on your own. And it's difficult to do. Extremely difficult. But if everybody just got really good at producing one thing in your area, the trade would work. You would not even need the gold and silver, although it does come in handy because at some point you might not want someone's tomatoes, but they might want your eggs. If that's the case, what do? Well, you give them a piece of silver and you get their item, or they get your item, or however you got it set up, and then you use that piece of silver for somebody else. And that's the original reason that we used silver as money, because it was a great tangible item. We didn't have electricity back in the day. You go back far enough, there wasn't always power grids and electricity. And a day may come where we may not have those things. And at that point, I think cryptos are going to be gone. Do I think that day's coming? No, this is not fear-mongering. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make people understand that a certain amount of precious metals on hand is a good thing. I also have stated on this channel many times before, the first priority should be food and water. Once you have food and water, a small extra supply of it, then you go to security, a way to secure what you have. Because the truth of the matter is, if you have anything, people will come for it if they're hungry enough. Once you have food, water, protection, then you go on to expand. And that's where precious metals comes in. And though you may not need precious metals during a major apocalyptic scenario, society has never stayed apocalyptic forever. There have been dark ages and dark periods of times in different parts of the world. But you can look at it one of two ways. On a small scale, there is always somewhere else that they want precious metals. I don't know if any of you have ever read The Great Pearl, I think it was, or The Pearl. I think it was called The Great Pearl. Someone actually turned me on to that book. And when you read the book, you'll find out that not everything has value in your area. The pearls were valued somewhere else at a high value. So people came into the poor area and they tried cheating everybody out of their pearls. And these people didn't know any better. They sold their pearls off. Just like you go to the Philippines, there are people out there that are in the woods, sitting in the woods, mining gold. Now, they're going down in holes filled with water, going underwater with a breathing hole and goggle. I'm watching a video on it, and I said, wow, all that work for that little tiny speck of gold. And they said, we find gold every day. And that makes the difference between us feeding our family or not. Yes, we're risking our lives, but if we get lucky, we feed our family. And if not, well, we get enough to feed our family, just not really get ahead. And so it's something you need to think about. It's not always going to be cushy. You have an obligation, I believe, to help people now, especially your loved ones. But you have to understand, when stuff breaks down, it gets a little harder to help. You know, they had their opportunity, and I'm not going to be forced to. Will I help my family? Of course I will. I will try to help everybody. But at a certain point, how much can you do for everybody? One last thing, and then I'm going to wrap up the video. One of the things, I've been looking at is when I go to the Philippines, I want to go to a poor area. Really, I'm talking ultra poor, poverty, where people are starving. And I want to bring a bunch of rice. And I already know what's going to happen. There's only so much rice you can bring and so many people to feed. You can't help everybody. That's going to be an amazing video when I do a video on that to show people. That's what it's going to be like when the switch is turned here on the US dollar. You're either going to be prepared or you're not. And if you've taken the time to prepare for yourself and for your family, you'll be okay. The word required, I think, is a far-fetched because, like I said, gold and silver is outside the system, and I will sooner see it disappear in a boating accident than be forced to turn it over to somebody else. And I hear that same passion when it comes to pew-pews, but then those same people want to say, oh, they're just going to come and take your silver and gold. What makes you think they're not going to come take your pew-pews first? So, something to think about. I don't think they'll have to take it because most people aren't smart enough to even buy it. So, therefore, I'm not convinced they're going to go door to door and say, hey, you got a couple silver dimes, you got a bar of silver, you got something hidden. No, it's not going to go down like that. It could, but I don't think it will. They might pass a law and say you have to turn it in to help your country, do your patriotic duty. How many people will do that? I don't know. That will be up to them. But by that time, I've already lost the majority of mine. So I remember the old days, you see a bunch of silver. Now you just see a little bit. I lost all mine in a boating accident, and I am disgusted by it. So now I just show you the couple coins that I do have left and the couple bars. And I guess Uncle Sam can have those few because that's all I got left. So with that being said, I thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I will see you guys again tomorrow with another great video. I know it got a little bit long today. I apologize, but it was a great topic. Had to talk about it. It was an amazing comment. I thank the individual for commenting that. And I hope you all have a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.